everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com back again with another news video. There's already, you know the drill, there's already a news video up today, lots of wrestling news in that, and more wrestling news packed into this one. So, without any further ado, let's take a look at those headlines. First of all, a WWE Superstar was pulled from last night's Halloween Havoc. Next up, the Young Bucks have revealed a huge stipulation for the upcoming AEW Full Gear pay-per-view. And finally, we take a look at an update on the future of Thunder Rosa. Reports, of course, that there's a lot of interest from both WWE and AEW. So first of all, yes, let's go to the Wrestling Observer Radio, where Dave Meltzer was talking about a certain WWE superstar who was pulled from last night's NXT Halloween Havoc show. This is in relation to reports of a recent COVID outbreak in WWE, what sounds like a comparatively minor one compared to previous COVID outbreaks that have been reported from Florida, but at the same time one which could potentially have had big consequences. So Meltzer says the basic gist is that one of the coaches was diagnosed with COVID, so everybody that trained at the gym on Friday was told to quarantine for 2 weeks, whether they tested positive, or not. Meltzer does point out that not many of the TV people, I guess he means by that, not just performance center trainees, but actual wrestlers who are on TV, not many of the TV people were there on the Friday, and even all of those who were there that were tested, none of them tested positive. However, because of, precautions and everything, they still had to quarantine for 2 weeks. And one of these people is apparently Indy Hartwell, a performance center trainee who's recently been cropping up a little bit on NXT. She was reportedly supposed to be at Halloween Havoc, but was pulled from the show because of this. Meltzer says that, so if you watched the main event of the show, it was Io Shirai defending the NXT Women's title against Candice LeRae in a TLC match, or a Tables, Ladders and Scares match. Apparently, Indy Hartwell was supposed to do a run-in in that match, helping out Candice LeRae, but of course she'd been pulled, so she wasn't able to do so. Instead, we got a mysterious masked figure dressed like the character from Scream who attempted to help Candice LeRae in that match. Meltzer reckons that was supposed to be Indy Hartwell, and still may go on in storyline, in kayfabe, to have been Indy Hartwell, because the figure was never unmasked. It could realistically be anyone. Meltzer says the idea was for her to unmask as Indy Hartwell. I'm not sure whether he means for her to unmask after the spot and be like, whoa, it was me all along, or unmask at a later date. But Meltzer says she wasn't there, it was somebody else under the thing, under the disguise. So fair play to WWE for seemingly tightening their COVID restrictions, I think, for the safety of everybody involved, because, everybody had to quarantine for 2 weeks who was in contact with that trainer who tested positive, whether or not they themselves tested positive. As I mentioned, apparently none of the TV people in attendance tested positive, such as Indy Hartwell, but they had to quarantine for 2 weeks anyway. Now on to some more general updates from that show last night. It was a very eventful one, and one that received a very positive reception, this NXT Halloween Havoc show. It was very entertaining, a bit of a mixed bag, which is kind of what often leads to an effective wrestling show, really. Bit of drama, bit of comedy, bit of silliness, bit of seriousness, it all kind of mixed together very well. It was a very eventful show. We had a title change and a big heel turn too. A title change and a return, and then that returning person immediately turned heel. So a bit of a spoiler warning, we're about to talk about the title change now, so if you haven't seen it, get ready to shut down your senses. That title change came in the first match of the night, the North American Championship match, which was kind of a no DQ Falls Count Anywhere match between the champion Damian Priest and the challenger, who's already held that belt once, Johnny Gargano. Gargano ended up picking up the win with the help of also a mysterious figure dressed as the character from Scream. It may well have been the same figure who interfered in the main event, we don't know yet. But yes, Gargano won the match and is now the first ever two-time North American champion, but that's not where the drama ended on the night. Elsewhere on the show, we got a promo from Pat McAfee, Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch, this new little collective that are set to run wild over NXT, and they were interrupted by Kyle O'Reilly, who seems now to be just fully babyface. But O'Reilly wasn't going to charge the ring alone. He brought backup in the form of Pete Dunne, who hasn't been seen since all the travel restrictions as a result of the pandemic. Dunne accompanied Kyle O'Reilly to the ring and then immediately turned on him, hitting him with a chair and aligning himself with his fellow Brit Danny Burch and also Oney Lorcan and Pat McAfee. They seem to be a little stable now, a four-man group, a little collective who I think have a big surge of momentum now with the addition of Pete Dunne. I don't know what this means generally for travel restrictions though. It was a huge surprise to see Pete Dunne there. I don't know under what circumstances he was allowed to travel, maybe because he's based in the States. I'm not quite certain what that was all about, but it was great to see him back. I wonder if this opens the door for other, foreign talent from outside of the States to make appearances and that sort of thing. We'll have to keep an eye on it in the future. But yeah, great to see Pete Dunne back. Great to see him as a heel in my opinion as well, which is his more, natural persona. And I think this could be a really interesting and fun storyline going forwards. Now on to AEW, where if you watched Dynamite last night, you'll have known that the Young Bucks revealed a massive stipulation for their match at the upcoming Full Gear show, which takes place not this weekend, but next weekend. During a sit-down kind of split-screen interview, the Bucks and FTR were in separate locations. The Bucks revealed that if they do not win the tag titles from FTR at Full Gear, they will never have a shot at those titles again. This was surprising for me. I'd convinced myself that FTR were definitely going to win this first match and the Bucks would win a rematch and those titles further on down the line. Now it seems like the Bucks may well win the titles, because if they don't, well then they can never challenge for them again. But as being one of the key tag teams in that tag team division, that seems really extreme. But then again, we have seen previous in terms of this in AEW, haven't we? Because Cody famously lost to Chris Jericho, and due to a self-imposed stipulation like what the Young Bucks have done here, it meant that Cody could never challenge for the AEW World title again, something which he has upheld and honoured going forwards. And as unquestionably one of the biggest stars in AEW, a lot of people were surprised that Cody would do this. But of course, he has also, first of all, he's made room for other people to kind of rise to the top of the card. And also, he's kind of found himself a very entertaining niche as the TNT champion, having long competitive matches on TV with a huge variety of opponents. Maybe he sees his own value better spent doing that. But I don't know if the Young Bucks will see it the same way. The tag team division is, it's still an incredibly quality-packed division, but it's got a bit less depth, hasn't it, than the men's singles division. So I wonder really if the Young Bucks will actually win the tag titles at Full Gear. Maybe the previous nature of Cody's stipulation has led us to believe that the Bucks will lose and then they'll defy expectations and win. I don't know what the expectations even are. Maybe we do think they'll win and it will be a surprise if they lost. I don't really know. But it's very interesting stuff, and it's one of several high-stakes matches at Full Gear. Another title match was obviously put in place last night as well, as Hikaru Shida challenged Nyla Rose for the event too, for the AEW Women's title, and we also found out that it'll be Cody defending the TNT title against the number one contender Darby Allin. Darby was always going to be challenging for the belt, it just was a question of who he's going to be facing, Cody or Orange Cassidy. Cody won the match on Dynamite last night and goes into that title match at Full Gear with Darby Allin. Now let's have a bit of an update on Alex Reynolds, a member of the Dark Order, of course, in AEW, and somebody who had a bit of a scary moment last week on Dynamite. Bit of a controversial moment as well, as he was apparently knocked silly, like basically knocked out in the midst of that big multi-man tag team main event. And it took a long time for anybody to really realise and get him to safety. He got up, in fact, and took a couple more moves before he was kind of removed from the action. Well, Reynolds recently did a virtual meet and greet with Pro Wrestling Junkies, and he spoke about the incident that took place on Dynamite and defended AEW's safety protocol in this meet and greet. Reynolds said, "No, I think our team does a fantastic job. I think they took care of me right away when we all realised I was hurt." If you watch it, his definition of right away is, you can open that to your own interpretation, I think. They got me out there nice and safe. It's a contact sport, injuries are going to happen, and I think they've shown that they can handle those situations. So yeah, I don't think those safety concerns are validated. As somebody who's kind of just lived through it, I've put my trust fully in our staff. Reynolds has also said that he will meet with the AEW doctor next week when they start to tape more shows, and will be evaluated then, and fully believes that he will then be fully fit and cleared to compete. And finally, let's dive into the Thunder Rosa situation. Thunder Rosa, of course, an NWA wrestler, until very recently the NWA Women's Champion, but she recently lost that belt to Serena Deeb, and has also appeared recently on Dynamite as well, impressing a lot of people, drawing a lot of praise for her matches in AEW so far. But Thunder Rosa losing the NWA Women's title has opened a new floodgate of speculation regarding her future destination. Could her losing the belt mean that she's about to move somewhere else to a different different promotion, that sort of thing. Well, Thunder Rosa kind of courted these rumors, kind of played around with them a little bit by uploading a post to social media where she revealed she had the words WWE, AEW and NWA drawn on her leg, and she revealed those and then ran away in cheeky fashion. What a scam. Dave Meltzer had a bit of an update on this on Wrestling Observer Radio, saying it was probably around 3 weeks ago when I was told. What I was told was that Serena Deeb's going to win the title because Thunder Rosa wants to go to WWE or is looking to go to WWE. But Meltzer goes on, like I said, she's under contract. The people in AEW are under the impression that she's going to still work dates with them and still work dates with Billy Corgan. So there's two kind of conflicting schools of thought here, basically, that on one hand, Thunder Rosa seems to have expressed somewhere along the line an interest in WWE and moving to WWE, whereas on the other hand, people in AEW and indeed NWA, where she's currently contracted, seem to believe that things are going to continue as normal, that she'll still work for NWA and appear at AEW sporadically as well. So if that's to be true, then I'm guessing they took the belt off her for no reason beyond the fact that that's what they wanted to do in storyline and put the belt on Serena Deeb. In fact, Billy Corgan, of course, formerly of the Smashing Pumpkins, now William Corgan of the NWA, has said, "You have to love press and media reports that don't contact the company she is under contract to, but instead listen to someone who has my email address but doesn't write and ask." He could mean Dave Meltzer there, or I guess another high-profile wrestling reporter. He goes on to say, Corgan, this is, she, Thunder Rosa, is under contract through 2021, and there's a reason for that. It's called excellence and faith. So it very much seems as though nobody, apart from Thunder Rosa, really knows what her true intentions are. Does she want to go to WWE? Does she want to keep doing what she's doing for AEW and the NWA? Time will tell, but for now, the speculation only seems to be increasing. And that's it for this news video. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Jack from Cultaholic.com. Leave your thoughts and opinions on any of these stories in the comments section down below. Stay safe out there, stay positive, and I'll see you very soon.